Emerging is the idea of cooperative work and by video conferencing. In the past years, we've looked at some earlier systems. I think we're getting to see more close to realistic and useful and practical systems. This example, marketing piece, shows us the Intel ProShare.
The law practice, just like any service industry, has an element of competition to it. We feel that the use of ProShare has enabled us to fairly compete with other law firms around the country for the business that we are all seeking, which is to satisfy a client's legal needs. Credibility is a real issue. Clients like to see their lawyers.
Good afternoon, Jim.
Rick, how are you?
Good, how are you?
And I think that in a situation where you're able to have a face-to-face conference and discuss a document, discuss an agenda, it's advantageous for the client to be able to look at the lawyer. Recently, we had a brief that was due at the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals, and that brief had to be filed quickly, yet we had to have comments back from a client that was 2,000 miles away.
Do you have a few minutes that I can show you an outline that I'm working on that I'd like to complete today?
Sure, let's take a look.
With ProShare, you're online, you're looking at the same image that your client is looking at, and that's important. You're on the same page at the same time, so when you're discussing a point, you're not flipping through pages wondering what paragraph he's on now.
What I'd like to do on this introduction of counsel is to eliminate it. I think this court knows who we are at this point in time.
Now you're in real time, so you're looking at the same thing, discussing it, marking it up, and concluding the session by knowing exactly what the comments are, what the suggestions are, and what they mean. So you have a meeting of the minds, and you're able to now carry it out.
I think there'll be growing opportunities not only for the video conferencing, but the conferencing over documents, graphics, maps, videos, where people at remote sites, not just two, but more than that, will be able to see the same thing and discuss it. The video part is a nice addition, but once you get past the introductions, the emphasis is on being able to rapidly, smoothly work over a document. I think clearly the most important user interface event of '95 was the launching of Windows 95 on August 23rd, an event that drew lots of attention and lots of publicity stunts and events, including this cute intro with Jay Leno and Bill Gates.
Let's go to square one. Let's go back to the basics, and I'll explain it for you.
All right.
And again for some of the laymen out there. This here is the mouse. This is the mouse. You move that around. This here is the mouse tail. This will send all the main mouse information to the main mouse hutch in here, where most of the mouse equipment is kept with the other mice. It's all in the... This is your main mouse area, essentially, right here.
I'm getting a little worried that you really don't know much about Windows 95.
No. I'll show you. See, what I really like is that everything you need to do, I can do right from the start button here. You see that? Look at that, Bill, huh? Boom, right there. You got start. Everything's here under the program menu. See, if I want to add new programs, just pop up to there. Boom, there you go. Programs right there. See, very, very simple.
Windows 95 is a competent implementation. Some people have trouble with installations or other aspects, but it does carry forward the basic user interface strategy of multiple overlap windows. As you can see here, you now get longer than 8-character names, finally. Definitely a step forward. The titles have shifted to the left, but you're getting a variety of applications, and Microsoft deserves credit for making a standard which a lot of people can use and which is fairly consistent across a variety of applications. Here in Microsoft Works, we've got word processors and graphics packages and spreadsheets and databases, and I think it makes it possible for a user to move from one environment to another with relative ease, and where the learning developed in one application pays off in the other application. This is definitely a step forward from where the DOS platforms were of 10 years ago, where each application had a completely different environment. Of course, Macintosh fans will remind us all that that was part of the Mac in 1984, and I agree. I think we're still stuck in the valley of 1984, where we have the three leading platforms, the Mac, the Windows 95, and we can take a little look at IBM's OS/2 here, which has slight, has some variations on the theme. The launch pad here at the bottom of the screen, a little cut off on my monitor, but and let me see if I, there we go, we can bring it up there, and if I launch the IBM Works, I'll get a set of applications which also have a fairly good level of consistency. These are lightweight applications. I've put up a file here. We get the file dialog box. Again, a sort of nicely consistent style of interfaces, of interface design with greater flexibility for setting colors, font types, even contents of menus. That object orientation in OS/2 is the beginning of a bigger step forward. Of course, it has some technical advantages about effective multitasking and good memory management. If we look at the document, we get a little welcome to UIS 96 in this basic word processor. If you need information, and this I think is the harbinger of future good improvements, one of the problems I see is this problem of managing one window at a time. And the lack of consideration of where to put dialog boxes. Here's a good example of a positive contribution from OS/2. If you click within the master help index on one of the items, such as batch files, the batch file box appears next to, not on top of, but move next to it, and if I drag this around, although I only get one of the shadings, the box follows it. So the coordination of windows is what's I'm looking for, one of the aspects in the next generation of technology. This also exemplifies another coordination strategy, which is the idea of hierarchical coordination, where here I have a table of contents and the results appear there. If I click here, I get the result in the window on the side. That ought to be the normal way of working. That ought to be a technique that every user can put into their own documents. So they can put a table of contents, put it on the screen in one window, click on a chapter, and the adjoining window jumps to that chapter. Why can't we have those tools too? And when I close, both windows go away simultaneously. Okay? The coordination of opening and closing of multiple windows is the second major area. I'll repeat that. The coordination is one. There are many good possible coordinations. The management of multiple windows is the second area. We developed a variety of ways to do coordination. They're embodied in a system built by Esser Kandogan called Elastic Windows.
Almost all current systems follow the independent overlapping windows approach, where windows are allowed to overlap each other. Operations on windows are performed one at a time, and size and location of each window is independent. We developed a new windowing approach called Elastic Windows. It is based on three principles: hierarchical window organization, which support users structuring their work environment according to task; multiple window operations, to decrease the number of window operations, to lessen the load on the cognitive abilities of users; and space-filling tight layout, to use the screen space more productively. To test our ideas, we developed a mail tool application based on these principles. The screen is divided into two main windows. The window on the left displays the new incoming mail, and this window on the right contains the old correspondence, represented as icons with pictures of the sender grouped hierarchically in separate windows. My old messages are divided into three sub-windows: those from the University of Maryland people, those from friends, and those related to the association that I'm a member of. Each of these sub-windows are divided into different windows. The border coloring indicates the nesting. It gets gradually darker, deeper in the hierarchy. I see 8 new email messages, 5 of which are from my advisor, Ben Schneiderman. He was going to send me some internship information. Let me open a new window to be used as a container window by double-clicking on the left border of the alt mail window. The container window is open to the left of the alt mail window, pushing it and all its sub-windows to the right in an elastic manner. Selecting a group of icons, dragging and dropping them in the container window will open all 5 mails in separate windows but packed into the container window. I guess these are the internship information that I was looking for. Let's see what Chris North's mail is about. Dragging and dropping on the border of a window is another way to open a window. This time the new window is opened above the old mail window, pushing it lower. I see that Chris also sent me an internship information. I would like to put this message among other windows containing internship information. To do this, I first select the relocate operation from the menu and double-click on the border of another window. I recall that Flip, a friend of mine from college, some time ago sent me internship information at the company he's working at. Let me find it. I go to the Friends sub-window and resize it. There he is. Selecting, dragging, and dropping gives me a list of emails he sent. Then I select the appropriate one and open another window similarly to see its contents. Let me put this window among others as well. I don't need this window anymore, so I close it. Note that the empty space is filled by the old mail window. Now that I gathered all the information I wanted, I will look at each one of them in more detail and compare. To see more of this top window, I will make it large by pushing the lower border, which shrinks windows below proportionally. To read the contents of this middle window, I will resize it in both directions at the same time. In elastic windows, window operations can also be applied in a serial manner to a number of selected windows. For example, I select the close operation from the main menu. The cursor shape changes accordingly to indicate the operation, and then clicking anywhere on the windows closes that window. As the windows are closed, the emptied space is filled by the surrounding windows. Since I am done with my investigation, I minimize all these 7 windows with a single operation. The minimized window is packed appropriately in the same location. This helps users to locate it easily. Double-clicking restores all the windows to their previous sizes. An interesting resize is the pump operation, which lets you focus on a window for some time. To start pumping, I press the left mouse button on the zoom gadget. It pumps the window gradually, pushing all the surrounding windows to the sides. To unpump it, I press the middle button instead.
Elastic Windows is a prototype and a research project funded by the National Science Foundation. We're not, it's not a tool that we're ready to distribute, but we certainly think that the ideas are potentially effective for designers to include in their own systems. You may not want to do all the things that are in Elastic Windows, but some of them may be an inspiration. And I think that's important because my continuing concern is about being stuck in that valley of 1984. The systems I see have the same idea of manage one window at a time. The level of window housekeeping is much too high as far as I'm concerned, and it limits me from doing the more ambitious kind of management of information with 10, 20, or more windows on the screen at once. So that's where I see things going in the coming years, is to give better, effective user control of larger amounts of information on the display screen. That wraps up our first hour. I hope it's given you some perspective.